consistently.
Yes. 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 Test. Test. Is it on? Test. Test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test. Is it on YouTube? Test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test.
Thank you so much for your patience. We are back from recess. Hopefully we're good to go. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it. We're going to jump right back in to our agenda. If you're following along, we are on item 3D, the Supercharged Life Adventure presentation by board member Jeremy Honak. You can do it from here or you can go down there, either one. Okay. And Jeremy, just before we get started, since we haven't done this really before, do you prefer that we ask questions as you go or that we wait till the end? Okay. Yep, no problem. Okay, sounds good. We will wait till the end then. Thank you.
So this is a real honor to do something that I've really wanted to do before I was on the board. The Supercharged Life Adventure, or a week life struggle. Kids have, let's go to the next slide. And we can go past that. So this is part of the format. So I'm proposing that the Litchfield adopt this as an optional teaching program. It's not required. It's like traditional academy. The difference is it's really focused for all students. Kids that are not achievers, we're going to turn them into achievers. And okay, left off my schools. Can we go back to the one before? Yeah, there we go. And especially to our minority students, which is what's kind of bringing our average scores down. Next slide. Almost half our kids by the Arizona achievement are not proficient, and there's also a large racial disparity. just general information, statistics, kids that are not proficient by fourth grade are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. It's serious. And kids that don't finish high school, I think there are 70% of them, 70% of US crime is high school dropouts. So we have, it's more than just educating kids, it's our future that we're gonna have. So this is aligned with the pillars and goals. We obviously student success, I just discussed that. The staff, we have wonderful teachers, and you know they want to make a difference in the world, and this is really a situation where they are able to do that. Part of SLA is a huge thing that we'll see later in it, that parents and local businesses are utterly and completely integrated in the school. They own it. It's almost like in a small town, a small schoolhouse. And I'm so sorry, I've got all these little reminders, okay? And so it's kind of going back in time in that regard, where businesses, the community had an entire stake in the school. Next slide. Reading's everything. If a kid knows how to read, you can learn how to do anything. You can fix a car, you can build a nuclear reactor, whatever, so they can do anything by using what they learned with reading. And if we don't have reading proficiency with our kids, we're failing them. They're really going to miss out on life. Next slide. The financial impact of this, and you're going to see later, a big component is EL. And we can go to the next slide. So actually, probably back to the finances. No, we're going to cover it later. Go ahead. I'm sorry. This pretty much impacts everybody. It probably, my guess is that Title I schools are really going to be affected in it dramatically, and I think that parents will really want to sign up for this. Next. So we're kind of covering the same ground. We've got wonderful teachers. We've got beautiful facilities. We're in a district that is blessed to be relatively prosperous compared to a lot of places. But I think we're focusing a lot on equity, on things that are sort of intangible. I think they're pushed on the district by the ASBA and the Arizona Department of Education. Honestly, opinions may vary, but they're the people that have, through their actions, have made Arizona 49th in schools. Now there is kind of an amazing experiment. I looked at a lot of schools throughout Arizona, and the ones that are very high achieving, and I wondered why. What are they doing differently? What can we, steal from them? Or what paradigms can we use that would benefit us at LESD? And, my wife kept saying, you got to look at Alhambra. You got to look at Alhambra. And I went, okay, well, I've looked at a lot of high achieving schools, so I didn't really initially pay attention. But then I started doing a little more reading, and Alhambra is astonishing. Their proficiency is incredibly high, among the highest in the state. They have part of this average that I calculated, and I have links on all of this, and you can go check all this out. But their figures squeaked up a little bit higher because I included algebra. And the reason I did that is because there's 98% participation in algebra in the school. So, but as I said, I don't know if anybody knows where Alhambra is, but it's around Indian School in the I-17, maybe a little to the west. And it's a low-income area, primarily low-income students. They're 89% minority. So EL, English language learning, is a huge component. So they have a huge challenge with English learning. They have a lot of high risk or at-risk kids, and yet they've managed to get that achievement up there. Next slide, please. So the timeline, I'm just kind of jumped around because that's the format they want. The timeline, this could actually be started in this next season. It doesn't require any facility changes, doesn't require any teacher changes. It's more a paradigm and how to get parents up to speed and get it's going to have a huge benefit. I think we can bring back a lot of kids that have left the district, get new ones. But the most exciting thing is getting parents to really take parenting and their kids seriously. And I know a lot of parents, my generation are thinking they're really great parents because they provided everything. You know, their kids have computers and they've got access and all kinds of wonderful things. But sometimes they need a little more, just learning, ABCs, reading, math, things like that. And it's work like anything else. As we, let's go to the next slide. So every human needs a goal. If you don't have a goal, you're aimless. You know, you need challenges. You challenge yourself. You need motivation. If not, you're gonna just sit around and be lazy. Kids don't often understand that. It's not explained to them in black and white. It's kind of assumed. And the way I like to see it is a kid needs to understand you got 18 years of free room and board, and it seems like it's going to be forever until you're an adult because you don't relate to that. But the fact of the matter, it happens faster. You know, years go by faster than you think. And they need to know that there's going to be a certain point where mommy and daddy or whatever are not going to be able to provide, and maybe they're out doing in another place or whatever. They got to know how to do stuff. A lot of kids get out, they don't even know where the electric box is or how to do laundry or whatever. If kids work hard now, they need to hear that if they work hard, maybe they have a little less fun, but they really work hard when they're young. Their life is going to be an adventure. And the reason is, it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it means that they're going to have opportunities. They're going to get, doors are going to open to them left and right. If they can't read, if they can't graduate from high school, you know, they're down to very minimal choices. And life's hard, you know, when you know, you just need to be able. Now, you know, studies show that all these motivation, I didn't make it up. It's been proven over and over. And one of the most amazing things is it really doesn't have a lot to do with wealth, race, or social status. So that's why you see people that come from very poor backgrounds and they're Elon Musk, you know, for instance, or whatever. I mean, you see a lot of rich people and their kids, trust fund babies, they call them, and their lives are kind of pointless, you know. Next slide. So how would this, we're getting into how do you implement this? There are three major studies that involve parental involvement. And parental involvement is a huge lever, but it's also a huge lever because from the school district standpoint, it costs nothing. You don't need to pay parents. You know, you don't need to. You know, they can do a huge amount of making their child when they arrive at school be motivated. The parents, the relations of, you know, the correlation between parental involvement to student test performance was pretty much unaffected by, as I just said in the previous one, by socioeconomic, racial, ethnic. This is a huge study. It's compilation of many studies. The next slide, please. Thank you. The strongest associations are not the parents that homeschool, that try to be teachers. The highest ones are just the parents that say, my child, you're my child. I want the best for you, but I expect you to work hard. I expect you to succeed. You set the mark up there and then watch the kid try to reach that mark. And challenges are good for everybody. So it's not a lot about being a teacher, but it's more about setting. Life is all about choices, and you need to make your kids make choices that they really do want to work and succeed. And so parents are more like people that need to check up, and they set the expectations and then see, is it being done? Maybe they have to work in the evening, they can't be around, but in the morning they can say, they can look and see, hey, did you do your stuff? Let me see, you know, stuff like that. Is there something that we can do? Next slide. So again, this is just another study showing pretty much the same thing, that is the parental aspirations, you know, what goals you set for your kid. And it's even the parent deciding they want their child to succeed. It's not acceptable that they're going to be, you know, less than the best they can be. Next slide. So this is a little pop quiz with the answers right there. What are the three most important rules of education? And by the way, the least expensive. It's parental involvement, and parental involvement. It's like real estate. What's the best, you know, most important thing? Location. So some questions. Do parents have to homeschool at night? No. Do parents have to teach at all? No. As a matter of fact, it doesn't work. Yes, you're going to help your kids. You need to teach them the ABCs. You need to teach them to initially try to get them reading before they're. Do parents have to read books to babies? Absolutely. Babies are cute, but they don't need gaga, whatever, and silly poking in the belly and stuff. They need that. They need love and they need everything. But really, their brains are just taking in the world and they're going, what do I do with what I'm experiencing here? And if you sing ABC songs to your baby, by the time they can talk, they're going to recite the alphabet. Well, hello, they're on their way to reading. Next one. So, okay, do parents have to set realistic expectations? The expectation isn't, I want you to go and, you know, do Lorentz contractions and derive, you know, relativity and stuff like that. That'll happen in college physics. But the realistic expectations for where your child is right there, get them to do something that's ahead that they're going to have to struggle a little bit, and hold them accountable. Yes. Agending kids' time with chores, homework, and research. Chores is the best thing in the world you can do with kids. Have them help. Have them do. Being a great parent isn't doing everything for your kids. It's making your kids do stuff so that they learn. Another thing that I just mentioned, the word research, and learning shouldn't just be reading books and homework and absorbing and stuff like that. Research is part of forming logical thinking in your brain. So part of SLA is, when they're at home, is always doing little research things. It could be, what happens if you mix sugar with water, you know, and then stick it on something and let it dry? I mean, how does the blender work? Or, you know, you don't want to cut kids' fingers off. But that's an important thing, and it's a fun, exciting thing for kids because they feel like it's a little bit of an important thing. The child's success needs to be the top goal after the survival needs. I mean, yeah, you got to provide and things like that. Next slide, please. So how do we motivate parents to do these things? Well, first off, we don't make it impossible for them to do. As we said, it's more about guiding and keeping accountable and setting some pathways. Well, to a parent, let's say the ELA parent, maybe there's almost no English spoken at home or whatever. They're going to be just as receptive to an offer of a world-class education for their child without having to go to a private school or even go to another school that they have to drive them to. So that's that. It's kind of a carrot to the parents, a bribe, let's say. Okay. The cost to the parents is nothing except for they do need to reward achievement of their kids, you know, and that could just be in I love you, I'm so proud of you, or wow, we get to eat dinner. I don't know what. It's going to give us stability because it's going to involve the whole family and parents, so that their home actually will end up being a little more structured, a little happier, and the school is going to have to give this guidance. It's not going to just tell parents it's stuff, but it's going to be done with videos online. It's going to be things that parents can see on their phone at work, you know, YouTube or whatever. And that they will be building a powerful and positive future. And a lot of people that are disadvantaged, I mean, they're here because they really want opportunity. They really want a better future. They buy into that, and they understand how serious it is. So I'll go a little quicker here. They need to set expectations, hold their child accountable, channel of regular parent-teacher-student accountability. There needs some really open things of teacher, parent, whatever, whether it be text, whether it be whatever, something that works, so that a parent that isn't, you know, maybe can't be in communication after school, whatever. Maybe smoke signals, just okay. The child's life really, you know, one of the things is the secret of kids is just keep them busy. If they're busy, they keep out of trouble. Chores, homework, research. We need access to parenting self-help resources. This is just YouTube's on parent, you know, things, just put a label on them and they pretty much exist. And then community with other parents so that people really can, parents need to be able to work together and talk together in a way, in a small way, not coming to meetings and formal single parent, you know, meetings and stuff like that, which are very resource intensive. Next slide. So where did EL come from? Everybody seemed to think that you had to be bilingual. It wasn't fair to require people to learn English. And what happened is an utter and complete disaster. And to the point that in 1996 in Los Angeles, a lot of Latinos just boycotted the school. They said, that's it, we're done. Because their kids were getting up into 5th, 6th grade and they didn't know one single word of English. So they were doing everything in Spanish, and their parents knew they had to learn English to be able to get along. So this guy came along, Ron Unz, and he's not an educator or anything at all. He was a software engineer, probably did a lot of the big, you know, financial software, QuickBooks or whatever. And but he decided it's his time to step up, and he went around and got certain states to do it. Arizona, fortunately, was one of them. He spent a boatload of his own money to get things on the ballot and voted. And we came up with this idea called immersion. Now, immersion is something that anybody that knows 3 or 4 languages is the only way you learn. And you do that, you know. My parents just dropped me off in Germany when I was 11. That's it. Lived with a family. One person spoke English who was never there. I had to speak German. I had to go to class in German school and whatever. I didn't die. I learned German. Same thing with French. Next slide. I actually went back there and I was talking to somebody. I said, how's my French? He said, sir, you're speaking German. I didn't even know what I was talking about. EL, okay, so the EL program here, when I first met Superintendent Gunning, one of the I said, you know, I'm working for you. How can I help? And one of the first things she said, if not the first thing, is, you know, can you do something legislatively to because we have unfunded mandates. I think it was regarding EL, maybe it was something else, but I really looked at it and it really fit in with my idea of supercharged life adventure. And so, but instead, I'm not a great political guy, as some of you may have figured out. But I did focus on how SLA could reduce costs by restructuring EL methods. Next slide. So down the road a little bit, those studies seem to be, I'm not going to go over those, but in addition to that, I read a book that is, well, I get to that in a second, but my wife suggested Alhambra, and then all of a sudden I looked at it and I went, holy, this is amazing. They're doing really a lot of what I wanted to do. And they literally took it to heart, the whole community. And they had some amazing leaders because they had huge at-risk problems, but they actually refused to take federal money because they did not want to have guidelines that they had to adhere to. And they just reinvented the schools. They went and they have a situation where they did a very intensive preschool, such that a lot of kids are already proficient in English before they start first grade. Well, that's a huge part of the battle right there, because if you got your kids all speaking English, and there is no language barrier, and then you can go look at their website and they go equity, our version of equity is making all students the same, high achieving. And they have a disparity of about 2% between the top racial dispersion, which is incredible. They decided all lives matter, and they declare that on their website. Next slide. So I put out some information on SLA. I did it very prematurely, but I was just trying to get some feedback, and I did. But a lot of the things I got was, well, you can't force people to speak English at home, you know. People were saying it's racist, it's this or that or whatever. Well, first off, English is required for citizenship. Every country has native languages. I mean, if you're going to go to Germany, you know, you can't demand to speak Swahili or whatever. It's hard to succeed in the United States without speaking English. If you're a doctor or a scientist, it doesn't matter what country you're in, you got to speak English because that's pretty much what the scientific community uses. And one of the neat things about it is if you have a kid in immersion or in school, they can go home because we're getting the parents involved. And all of a sudden, the little kid is teaching the parents and sitting on, you know, grandma's lap or whatever, and they're learning little basic words and stuff. It's a fun family kind of a thing. Family unification. And I know in my business, I've worked with a lot of people and done a lot of business with them, and they're wonderful people. But the older ones, they don't speak not a word of English. And I get along great with people like that because I don't really know very much Spanish at all, but we communicate really well because it's a wonderful thing, opportunity for the whole entire family. And we know we all need families. And the other thing is that by not learning English, now all of a sudden we have kids in EL all the way, they're pulled out and separate teachers and parallel universe going on, you know, going on up into the other grades. That's burning money like crazy in our district. So we can go next. I think we're getting very, very close to the end here. Thank you for being so patient. So this is based on promises. The parents are going to promise to do their part. There's nobody going to come arrest them and whatever, you know, and the kids make a promise. They sign up. This is really pretty much like the traditional learning academy. And they're pretty much the same type of situation. The parents promise to set high expectations, accountability, and to the best of their ability, provide a quiet, peaceful environment. That may be hard, but maybe they can arrange with a neighbor or arrange something or other. And parents promise to immerse their child in as much English-speaking media and conversation at home. Now, people said, "Oh, well, you're forcing people to speak at home." No, you're not. But there's several for-profit language, very successful language learning things. They use media. They use popular songs. They use popular YouTubes and things like that as their lesson, because they know kids are going to go along with it. So if you get Hispanic kids or non-English speakers, and you get them into some real popular musical things and stuff like that, but help them along that they understand enough, then it becomes repetition. It's a lot of it. So we can go. I'm sorry. Go next. Thank you. Okay, so we're pretty much done, except for one thing I've left out is business integration. Businesses are really part of life. I mean, almost everybody works. I don't have a trust fund. I don't know anybody. I never got anything from my parents, except for chores and work. But and thank you. But businesses will jump all over schools. They want to integrate with the schools. They will give money, they will give resources. Just ask, their answer will be yes, we will. Why? They need competent employees. They need people that work, even a cashier, that if the guy gives different form of money and then all of a sudden the change on the cash register is wrong, they gotta be able to, how many people have gone and found, no, you got to tell them what the change is. They need a stable, crime-free community. Crime messes with everybody. They need customers. People that make more money are better customers. And as I said, businesses, they have money. They're for profit. They have money, and they can freely invest in things. They don't need to go get grants and go through a lot of do what Wendy has to do to get enough money to keep this place going. And they have resources that are incredibly educational. Next slide. Only business to provide real world knowledge. I mean, in school, you learn the tools, but a business is going to show you what things fail, what things work, what the downside of things are. And a lot of kids today, you know, in the old days, they were apprentices or whatever. Today, a lot of kids, they don't even know what their parents do. You know, they might occasionally visit it. You know, you have a situation where everybody, you know, impromptu parking lot lessons. I mean, some of you, a parent who drives a cement truck. Yep, good, okay, I'll be there, boom. Couple of classes, whichever can, they go out. Hey, how's this thing work? What do you do? Where do they mix it? What do they do? A crane, painting, AC system, plumbing. Parents that work at businesses, a lot of businesses will take kids, you know, for a tour and see things. It's amazing. I mean, almost every, I belong to an organization. We've got into things that you wouldn't believe. They don't even allow the public in, just senators and congressmen. And I've gone, you know, because you asked. And again, businesses are generally about solving problems. So you go into a tour business, they're going to say, hey, this is what happened and was the problem, and we solved it this way. It's not like following instructions. It's like they have to invent it. It's a creative process. So next slide. So this is a really short overview. I did not really explain a lot of how it works. A lot of it would have to be in videos, particularly to communicate the parenting stuff. But that's easy to do. Again, parenting parenting resources are there online, and for most people, they just look at it and they go, "Oh wow." some households are going to need attention, and outside resource partners, organizations, churches, things like that, they need to be pointed in the right direction. And most important, kids need regular reinforcement. They need to hear over and over that they can do it. They can do, and I don't care. One of my sons is a super achiever. His best friend was a kid that shouldn't be alive. They did the first brain operation on him, and he's a wonderful kid. But he's not going to be designing rockets, and he's a successful person out there. And they were best friends and still friends today. Every kid is gifted. Every kid has opportunities and blessings. They need to be programmed for brains. And so the next slide. So there's a lot of links here. This is on the, I'm assuming it'll stay on the agenda, be available for people to look at if they want to question things. The next slide. And so really life is about choices, and kids making the right choices, and parents need to make choices to make their kids do the right choices. We have a choice here that could be started in a small way, and it'll grow all by itself. It really is just something that needs to be tried. And I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm sure we have some questions. Would you like to stand up here? Would you like to go back to your?
I'll stand. I thought I'd get off that easy. Yes, ma'am.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry, Jeremy. We don't have comments from the audience. It's just board members only.
I'm sorry.
You can stand at the podium. We're just not. I apologize. You can ask questions or use your public comment time for that, but we don't have back and forth during presentation time. So I'll open
I could say this about people that want to come back. I would love feedback, right? Emails. I hate it. It's horrible. I love it. You should do this. You should do that. Thank you.
All right. I will open the floor to discussion, feedback, or questions for Jeremy. No one?
Oh, I have some questions.
Okay, I do too. I do want to take over. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay. It's challenging to know where to start, to be honest, Mr. Honek.
Could you speak a little louder?
Yes, I'm happy to speak louder. It is challenging to know where to start with my questions because I have questions on pretty much every single slide.
You should.
Overall, I'm concerned with the infringement on my personal choices, freedoms, and liberties in my own home that you are suggesting this program would try to dictate to me and my family.
Okay.
This presentation is full of assumptions and conflicting information.
Could I deal
Can
with
you
one at a time? Because I'm not going to remember all your questions. I could just give a quick answer on each one, like the first one.
Well, the first wasn't really a question. It was more of a statement, I suppose, but I do actually have a question here, which is, I fail to see the problem that this is trying to solve. So can you tell me more about what actual problem this is solving? I'm confused with if the intention is to replace the EL program, the traditional academy. I'm failing to follow what problem is broken that this is fixing.
Okay, good question. The first thing about dictating what somebody does in the home is really not relevant because it's optional. So you have, it's close to traditional academy. With traditional academy, there are agreements that are made, I'm assuming, and from what I've read on it, the parents need to it says on our website, Traditional Academy, parents need to have a special kind of involvement. That is, I don't think that having parents involved is controlling or unreasonable. That should be the case for all of them. But in the case of traditional academy, it's voluntary. No one's forcing a kid into traditional academy, and no one is forcing a kid into SLA or parents into SLA. It's optional. Now, to get to the second part of your second question, is traditional academy is a subset of within the school district. Maybe classes overlap, maybe whatever, but it's a fraction of the total students. I don't know what the fraction is. I'm not going to guess. Somebody could probably tell me, but I'm assuming it's not the majority. And but it functions as an alternative track within the regular school system. SLA is exactly the same. It's an alternate track within the system, just like traditional academy. There may be classes that overlap with regular classes, portions of them. I don't think that SLA needs separate gym classes or things like that, you know, but for just as you would have higher academic classes, it's more it's a voluntary thing. And is it requiring more of parents and students and maybe teachers? Yes, but it's voluntary. Nobody's forcing anybody to, you know, if you don't want your kid to be you know, high achieving, you have a right to that, I guess.
I guess I failed to see, again, the differentiation or improvement upon what we're already doing. You have quoted numerous times that Alhambra's traditional academy ELA score is 82%. As our own data expert let us know, our LESD traditional academy ELA scores are actually 92%. So we're doing a better job with ELA by 10%. Very similarly with math, Alhambra Traditional Academy has a 90% test score. And here at Litchfield in the Traditional Academy, we have a 92% test score. So if you're looking at specific programs related to something for parents to sign up for something that's different, I don't think we need to look any further than what we're already doing. The Alhambra Traditional School is a separate subset similar to our traditional academy. So it doesn't accept every student. There is an application process to be accepted into that. And specifically, they do not accept children with ELL needs. Those students go to a different Alhambra school. So overall, the Alhambra district has ELA scores of 27% and math scores of 31%. So we're not really looking at apples to apples here when you're trying to say that Alhambra Traditional School has all of the answers. I think they have done a great job with their program. I think they have a fantastic program, but the program that they have does not translate for me in reality into what you are proposing for Supercharged Life Adventure. I think EL is totally separate from that. And you cannot then make the correlation that you, in proposing Supercharged Life Adventure, would have the same results as Alhambra Traditional School.
Well, first off, it's not a carbon copy of Alhambra at all. If it was, I'd just call it Alhambra, you know, system. First off, Alhambra Elementary doesn't have the entire school is a traditional school. It's called a traditional school, but they have managed to make, I don't think LESD, I don't think we have an entire school that's traditional academy. Maybe we do, I don't know. Anybody?
No, we do not. We have traditional academy classes that are integrated within our campuses.
Okay, which is, so there's a huge difference right there. They are in the middle of an area that is higher percentage of minorities, higher percentage of poverty, and yet 100% of the students in Alhambra Academy are on board. Now,
Now, I
let
think
me-
what
let-
you're missing here, though, Mr. Honak, is that the Alhambra Traditional School is a campus that families from across the valley bring their students to attend. And students must go through an acceptance process. And because of the standards of this campus, many students in the immediately surrounding community at both its current and former locations are not able to attend. So it is not a local community school exclusively. These students are handpicked to go to this school. So in that respect, there are some definite flaws in the correlation between what you are proposing and what Alhambra has accomplished.
Well, I know that's not, I'm not totally correct, because one of the main things that they had to do with their financing is they got a lot of money from businesses around there because they had a very high number of at-risk students. So if they had a lot of at-risk students, I'm not sure they had, you know, they're as exclusive as you're making it out to be. The next thing also is we have a huge disparity between racial disparity and disadvantage disparity in academics. We run down into the 30% proficiency in that range at the lowest, and our highest is still way lower than them. So yes, I'm not saying to compare it and that everything crosses over. What the studies I cited at the beginning of this are unanimous in. Brian Owen confirmed that the three studies that at the beginning of this, yes, they are probably the strongest levers are parental involvement. And really, the SLA is something to get parents involved. That's it. If parents get involved and the community gets involved, all the pieces are going to fall together. If you have, I get letters from teachers, I get a lot of them, and they're not wanting, you know, they're great things about the school system, and they're seeing things that they're like Wonders is a great program, but they feel like they're forced to implement it in a way that it doesn't achieve what it could. And so every high achieving school and every school that has low to high achieving schools, the correlation is the high achievers have strong parental involvement. So to say, well, this doesn't apply here, it would apply anywhere. If you can get parents involved, then you're going to have kids do better. Now, if you separate out, if the parents are involved, you're going to have kids that are going to be more motivated because the parents are going to be doing their job to motivate them. So when they get to the school, they're going to be less likely to be discipline problems. They're going to realize they need to pay attention and bring their homework home and all that sort of stuff. It is going to bootstrap. And with EL, the problem with a lot of EL families, a lot of them don't speak English, and they're not as likely to tap into resources and things that allow them to connect. You know, they just don't know how and where to connect because they live in an English speaking country. By and large, the resources are involved in you know, towards and that goes for everything. So to reach out to them in their native language and educate those parents and by educating them, by giving them guidance that they actually want. They want their kids to do well. They don't want their kids to be on the streets and in a gang and get off the path. They want to, and I've seen both sides of it. I've seen from poor families, some of my family, our best friends are Hispanic poor families, and their kids have become super achievers. And because the parents regretted that they didn't become achievers. So the door needs to be open and shown how. And that's really what it boils to. I can't predict the future and say we're going to be 90% for everybody in disparity of 2%, but doing nothing is what we're doing right now is not what are you doing right now that's so wonderful. There's nothing wonderful. Almost half our kids can't read. That's our average. I'm not proud of that. I don't think anybody should be proud of
Jeremy,
that.
can we ask a few more questions? I mean, you said
Yes.
a lot of this before. Can we ask a few more questions just to get
100%.
a lot of the things up? Do you mind if I jump in just for a quick second? Because based on something you said, I wanted to ask. When you compare to traditional academy and you said there might be some classes that would be together and some that would be separate, are you saying that this would be a separate program like traditional academy where there would be separate classrooms for SLA? And if so, would there be unique curriculum attached to that, or would it be the same curriculum that other students are learning?
Good question. So hopefully, yes, there would be a lot of the higher academic classes, hopefully would be separate classes, because the benefit that you're giving is that you're putting the motivated kids together. So you don't have to worry about the kids that are throwing desks and have to be carted away and whatever, so that yes, they should be in separate classes, probably to the same degree that they would be with traditional academy, which I'm not an expert at, but it just makes common sense. You're gonna put, to the best degree, if you have kids. And as far as the curriculum goes, the curriculum is the same curriculum, but I wouldn't be surprised if you just cross out, 6th grade and write 4th grade on it for the SLA kids or whatever, which is probably what they do a little bit in the traditional academy.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand. On slide 18, you say SLA offers a world-class education to kids. I absolutely believe that LESD provides a world-class education to kids. And it sounds like what you're suggesting is we're going to give kids more of what LESD is already doing. And so I'm just looking at your own slide that says this program offers a world-class education. And if we're using our same curriculum and our same program that we have set up, whether it's traditional academy or SLA or other programs, it sounds like we are already doing that, or at least part of that.
So 56% of our children average are proficient at reading. That means 44% can't read, may not be going. How is that world class? Does anybody think it's world class where almost half the kids can not read? It's horrible. It's a
These
crime.
are your words in the presentation. I didn't say that. These are your words. I'm just asking how that translates to a world-class education if you're saying the one that we're providing is not.
Well, you're saying it's curriculum and whatever, but what most of the presentation is parental involvement. And what the biggest difference is going to be parental involvement. If you can get parents to agree that, and you can convince them, and that our job as a school, it's not just here, drop off your kids and we'll do the best we can. Our job is to prepare parents. We should be having parents out there preparing their kids from the time they're babies. So that by the time they get to, kindergarten, they're singing the alphabet song and they're starting to read baby books and stuff like that. So it's all about parental involvement. That's the part that the way things are going right now, I don't think it has the degree of parental involvement that is in Alhambra and the degree that it would work in an exclusive world-class school, or in Alhambra, or in any school for the high achieving thing. Parents are on it.
How does the district manage that? How does the district manage You said parents need to set expectations, hold children accountable. I don't disagree with any of that. How do we as a board, Jody as a superintendent, or even teachers, how do we hold parents accountable for that? Or how do we manage that at home? Because, we're already managing, right, what goes on day to day and all of the things that you're talking about. What's going to bridge that gap between what we currently have and parents? I don't think parental involvement is a bad thing. I absolutely agree that it's essential to, a lot of things you're talking about. How do we bridge that gap, and how does this program actually allow us to manage that as a district?
That is a great question, and that is a key. And there is a simple answer to that question. The school right now is educating kids. The school has to aggressively educate parents. It doesn't need to hold classrooms, and we don't need to build more schools with more classrooms to bring parents in, but it needs to give. Everybody looks at YouTube or whatever. They need a lot of people out there. Again, I don't care if they're poor or they're wealthy. They don't understand really some of the ABCs of parenting. They think that they're, giving their kids a lot of stuff and giving them a cell phone. I see little kids everywhere, and parents give them their phones and their whatever, and they're just playing mindless little video games. There's not a focus on the fact that kids need guidance. And I know from personal experience, if you take a little kid, rather than giving them video games and whatever, you teach them to read, and they start reading all the little child versions of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and whatever. In a very short time, they're addicted, and they're not really interested in watching TV, and they're going to read. And after a while, because the mind wants a challenge, the mind wants stimulation. Nobody wants to watch a boring movie. Nobody wants to go into a boring class. Nobody wants to have a boring life. But they don't know where and how to do that. The brain is a computer. You program it. Garbage in, garbage out. You put in the stuff that a work ethic. That's why the little thing of just having kids at home. What's wrong with having a kid 2-3 days a week do a little science project at home? Silly little one, and they feel proud of it, and they're doing something off the off just the beaten path of just kind of rote learning. It's a paradigm that's actually going to infect homes. It's not going to be like making people. You're going to see that certain people are going to adopt it, certain not. But people that adopt it, they're going to say, "Wow, thank you. It changed our life." They're going to be telling their friends, and it's going to grow.
Can I ask a question really quick?
Yeah, I was about to say, we're approaching an hour on the presentation, so I want to
Okay,
just make sure everyone gets through with some questions.
So I guess my first question is it your belief that our kids are at where they're at because our parents do not care?
I'm not going to, first off, that's such a general question because the parents are not monolithic. They run the entire gamut. Okay, I was a parent here. There's all kinds of parents, and there's no bad guys. There's nobody sitting there saying, "Oh, well, these parents aren't doing the right thing." It's just that if you want to educate kids and you want to take advantage of the home experience, you're going to need to educate the parents. And you'd be surprised how many parents have everything and they really don't. I have friends that are way up there, and I have friends that are way down there. And the ones that are way down there, their kids are up here. And the ones that are way up there, their kids are dummies. And I go, why is this? Why is this? And they're super smart people because they're smart. They think things happen automatically. Parenting is a skill like anything else. It's not obvious. It's not just love your child to death, It's there are things that kids need that they need a lot of real world things. They need chores. They need expectations. They need challenges. They need, just like adults, they're really no different. Little kids are just no different. So showing parents how to do it is what it is. It's not that you got good parents or bad parents. It's just some parents know the right way, some don't, some accidentally do it the right way, some don't. I don't know. That's not the point. The
Okay,
point is get the
I
information.
understand what you're saying. So my next question is, when's the last time you volunteered in any of our schools to see what parents were doing on our campuses to be involved?
I have 5 boys. Okay, I have been involved in their schools all the way through. I've halfway helped build a school. I've done a lot of the things that that we're talking about. I've been incredibly involved and supportive of them. I don't.
So when was the last time you were volunteering in one of our schools to see what was happening in our campuses right now?
I'm volunteering right now in your school. Okay, I honestly am volunteering my life, and it ain't been easy.
Okay. And lastly, what is your background in education? Because we hire a lot of people in this district and we trust them to give us information to make decisions. We as a board are then to take that information and make decisions based on the information they present to us. I feel like it is you going way out of your lane as a board member to do this. However, I'm just curious as to what your education background is, that maybe you do have background information to add to this, and not just your parent experience, because I'm a parent, but I'm not up here presenting how I'm going to fix the school districts by parent involvement, which I agree with. It is super important. It is the #1 indicator for student success. You are not wrong on that.
So what is my background in education? My mom was not just a teacher. She invented a whole new method. And you could teach kids to read music about 2 or 3 years before they learn how to read words in books. That was my mom. And that system is used in school systems. To this day, my mom passed away a long time ago. I was on the ground floor as a kid. I helped do the books. I helped set up the classes. I helped her design the procedures and stuff like that. I worked on it along with a lot of other things. I actually had a number of businesses when I was still a young teenager. As I said, we came here to Phoenix. My son couldn't go. He couldn't get what he needed from LESD. So we had to go to a couple other schools. And one of the schools was a incredibly struggling school. I mean, literally they had 2 classes. They were in a factory building and whatever. I did a lot of help. I spent a lot of time there, and I was shocked at how one of the teachers there wasn't the director was a PhD and all that stuff, and she was really on it. But the other teacher, I don't even know if she had any what qualifications. And she had a class that had 2nd graders all the way to 5th graders. And so that's a challenge. She used a lot of the carrot type of thing and challenge things for kids, like for instance, learn multiplication tables. And some of it seemed cruel. You would sit there and you go, oh my God, this is horrible. Because the kids, before they could move to the next level, they had to get 3 tests, 100%. And then they got to move. And they'd get 2 and they'd have 3. And oh my God, the tears and the this and that, whatever. They learned. I had 2 teachers that I had in my life. And I thought they were I hated them beyond belief. One of them was a history teacher. I did everything perfect. I got an F on my paper. What? Everybody. He said, look, anybody can remember facts. I want to know, do you understand what happened and why? And it was about writing. And I hated this guy. I hated this guy. And now I look at him and I go, this guy's one of my best teachers because I learned how to write. And if you learn how to write, it means you've learned how to think. And so, you know, there are a lot of lessons. Some of the best lessons I've had weren't even out of the classroom. But I was a physicist. I didn't even know. School, I couldn't even focus. College, all of a sudden, bam, honors, physics, whatever. I left that, went in the movie business. And I did really well, won all kinds of awards, but you know something? I was just interested in the electronics and whatever. I taught myself electronics, taught myself computers, taught myself all kinds of stuff to the point that I'm an expert. It's not because I'm smart. I'm not. You know, y'all think I'm an idiot, you know. Some of you don't. Thank you. But I'm just saying that you get it from reading, you get it from whatever. And the one thing that I got early on is there was a thing called phonics and phonetics. And I went to a school when I was my first kindergarten, whatever, based on that. And then after that, I was in the toss to the sea of, you know, schools that are up and down or whatever. But I went into that knowing how to read at a really early age. And I can tell you that if you get a baby, you get a toddler, by the time they walk, they sing the alphabet, watch out. Watch out. You just watch out because there's no school going to keep up with it.
Okay, I'm going to keep this going. Melissa, do you have any more? Dr. Armstead, do you have any questions you'd like to ask? No. Okay. Do you have another question? Okay. I just want to keep us abreast of time. We have another full agenda. I want to make sure everyone gets the chance to speak during our public comments. So go ahead, finish up and I will.
The last thing that I wanted to address are actually two pieces of misinformation that are included in the presentation. On slide 21, you say that Alhambra rejects federal money and Marxist quote unquote equity. The facts are that Alhambra does choose to not accept Title I funds, although they would be qualified to do so. But because those funds are restricted, they have declined those funds. However, as part of the Alhambra Elementary District as a whole, they do receive a significant amount of federal funding for all of their programs.
Thank you for the correction. I'll admit, I went and looked and I've didn't get every single thing right. It's a lot of work putting that together. Thank you.
No worries. The second piece, which has to do with equity, I just wanted to give you a little bit of history as to what Alhambra actually has done in regards to equity. In 2016, they were the first school district in the state to sign the Unity Pledge, which shows their community that campuses were safe and open to all. Alhambra also has several policies on the books, including protections for staff, students, and families as it pertains to sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. In 2017, Alhambra approved resolutions to ensure the protection of their students and families from ICE and immigration enforcement on their campuses. In 2018, Alhambra opened the Valencia Newcomer School, a campus built to serve refugee students under a model of acculturation, not assimilation, the exact opposite of what you're proposing. In 2019, Alhambra changed Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. In 2020, Alhambra approved a resolution stating Black Lives Matter. Most recently, Alhambra was the recipient of the 2020 Recognizing Innovative Strategies in Equity Award from the National School Boards Association, National Black Council of School Board Members. The last piece of information related to equity is that Alhambra's district motto is that everyone matters. You quoted them as saying all lives matter. But this motto, which was coined in 2015 by their superintendent, was created before the term Black Lives Matter became a mainstream statement. Alhambra has kept it to ensure that their community knows that they matter to us and to them, but they have not been afraid to state loudly that Black Lives Matter.
There's a correction there. As to the Black Lives Matter, if you go look on their website today, right now, they have a heading, Black Lives Matter, and it's true. Black Lives Matter. They say but all lives matter. That's what they say on their website. And maybe it's every life matters or whatever, but they do say that. And they say that in reference to Black Lives Matter. So, and they do have a lot of programs, and nothing is black and white and whatever. And, you know, you can find a lot of little things, but
No, plenty of this is black and white. When it comes to the equity work that we are trying to accomplish, there is a lot of it that is black and white. And you are touting Alhambra as an example when you haven't even done the research to find out what it is that they're doing that's making them successful. And so by doing that, I feel like you're wasting our time with this.
well, it's about parental involvement. And so, you know, you can nitpick about all those things. It's about parental involvement. And our scores show that something's not right here. So you can blame it on whatever, but if you look at the research, parental involvement is a huge lever. If we don't use it, it's probably not going to get better here. That's all. That's the big one, not whether they got a little bit of equity or this or that. That's not driving up scores anywhere. It's parental involvement. Science studies over and over show that. And that really sums it all up.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much.
Okay, we are moving forward to item 4A, acknowledgement of public requests to speak. For those of you that have been here before, you kind of know the drill. If you haven't, I need to read a statement beforehand, and then I will call each person up individually by name. Please excuse me if I do not pronounce your name correctly. I will try my best. I will announce the first person up, and then I will announce the second person on deck. So just please be ready as soon as that person is finished, and then I will announce the next person on deck. Pursuant to ARS 38-431, this agenda item provides an open call to the public, allowing individuals to address the governing board on any issue within the jurisdiction of the board. Items not listed on the agenda may be brought to the governing board's attention under this section of the agenda. Due to the Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot discuss or take any action on items not listed on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Governing board members are not permitted to discuss or take legal action on matters raised during open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. The law permits board members to ask staff to review a matter or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Okay. First up this evening is Monica Buensic. I apologize. Maybe, how about you? I know you've spoken here before. Will you pronounce your last name for me correctly?
Sure, it's Monica Buen Suceso.
Thank you. And Luciana Lee is on deck. Monica, please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Today, I'm going to read a statement that actually has been reiterated already, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's a statement from a friend, so I'm just going to read it. My name is Adam Lopez Falk, and I spent 3 terms as a member of the governing board of the Alhambra Elementary School District, retiring at the end of my 3rd term in 2020. 4 of those years were spent as president and 3 as board clerk. I am also a 3rd-generation graduate of Alhambra of Latino descent. I am writing this to be read as part of public comments. I had a chance to take a look at the slides Mr. Homek will be using to present a supercharged learning concept, and I wanted to correct the claims that are incorrect or misunderstood. First, Mr. Homek states greatschools.com, a website featuring user-generated data as facts. He also uses the work of Johanna Haver, who often cites outdated information in her writing. In fact, the book Vindicated, she uses data that is at least 19 years old. Attribution due to she hasn't been in the Alhambra superintendent since 2002. It is apparent that Mr. Homek doesn't understand the difference between the Alhambra Elementary School District and the Alhambra Traditional School, ATS. ATS is one of the nearly 20 campuses that the Alhambra district oversees. The claims he makes pertain only to ATS. ATS is a rigorous traditional smaller campus that focuses on subjects like phonetics at a higher rate. Families across the valley bring their students and they must take a test and interview to be admitted. Because the standards of this campus, many of the students in the surrounding community are not able to attend because of the language barrier and ELL needs. those students would attend a different Alhambra school. All of this means that any education outcomes at the campus would be much different than the greater district outcomes. The data that he has gathered from ratings websites is not representative of the Alhambra district as a whole. Mr. Honak claims that Alhambra rejects federal money, and this is false. ATS, which qualifies to be Title I school, has chosen not to accept the Title I money as a matter of marketing and the stigma associated with being a Title I school. However, ATS, as a member of the Greater Alhambra Elementary District, receives much federal funding for programs. Mr. Honak claims that Alhambra rejects Marcus equity, and that's false. And let's look at what the Alhambra has done to ensure equity, which has already been mentioned, but we'll mention again. To 2016, Alhambra became the first school district in the state to sign the Unity Pledge to show our community that our campuses were safe and open to all. They have several policies on books, including protections for staff, students, and families as it pertains to sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. 2017, Alhambra approved resolutions to ensure the protection of our students and families from ICE and immigration enforcement on our campuses. 2018, Alhambra opened the Valencia Newcomer School, a campus built to serve refugee students under a model of acculturation, not assimilation. 2019, Alhambra changed Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. In 2020, Alhambra approved the resolution stating Black Lives Matter.
Thank you. Ms. Diana, you are up next. Jen Rockwell, you are on deck.
And hi, I'm Sienna Lee, and I'm going to be continuing with Adam Lopez Fox's remaining part of his statement. And it's just basically to reiterate what Ms. Moran said. Most recently, Alhambra was the recipient of the 2020 Recognizing Innovative Strategies in Equity Award from the National School Board Association's National Black Council of School Board Members. Additionally, as a member of the Alhambra Board, I served as the state chair of the Equity Committee of the Arizona State Boards Association, and as a member of the Achieve 60 AZ Latinx Equity Task Force. Mr. Honak is wrong in his assertion. Equity has been a major part of the last few years of work in the Alhambra Elementary School District. Finally, Mr. Honak claims that Alhambra equity is all lives matter. I believe he is saying this in reference to the district motto, everyone matters. This motto, coined in 2015 by our superintendent, was created before the term Black Lives Matter became a mainstream statement. Alhambra has kept it to ensure our community knows that all matter to us, but we have not been afraid to state loudly that Black Lives Matter. As a subject matter expert, a former board member, and a driver behind much of Alhambra's equity programming, I respectfully submit this information into public record so that the Litchfield board, the district, and the community has the truth and facts they need during these very public debates. Thank you for your service and consideration.
Thank you. Jen Rockwell, you're up. Amanda Miller, you are on deck.
Good evening. I originally intended to get up here tonight to beg the district to please stop masking our children. But today I received a copy of an email that the superintendent sent to LESD staff, and I realized that masks are the very least of our issues within LESD. As evidenced by the email from the superintendent, the real issue is the continued vilification of parents who do not believe that LESD is racist, homophobic, transphobic, or bigoted, and the fact that the district does not seem to care about the concerns expressed by these parents. For the life of me, I cannot figure out where the disconnect is. There's not one rational person on the planet who disagrees with equality for all children. And I say equality because the word equity keeps getting used, yet no one can seem to agree on what that word means. Webster's gives lots of definitions of equity. None of them seem to make any sense in regards to equality, except maybe the definition, quote, something that is equitable, end quote. So I looked up equitable, and it was defined as, quote, dealing fairly and equally with all concerned. I definitely do not feel that I am being treated fairly or equally, but I digress. Given the definition of equitable, equity does not mean lowering standards or leveling a playing field, because that would not be fair. Equity does not mean everyone has the same outcomes, because that also would not be fair. Equity means making sure everyone has the access to the resources they need in order to be able to play on the same field by the same standards. Outcomes can only be determined by what each child does with the resources they are provided, combined with that child's own unique skills and ability. And to the degree that outcomes are not the same, that's okay. As long as students are appropriately and fairly equipped and they are doing the best they can with what they've been given, then we celebrate their outcomes. We don't compare them. Comparison is the thief of joy. Stop robbing these kids of the opportunity to be proud of their accomplishments just because they aren't the same as other children. On a side note, how about being fair and equitable to the Christian conservative families in this district who believe that there are only two genders, marriage is between one man and one woman, and we should be judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin.
Thank you. Amanda Miller, you are next, and Richard Gerhart, you are on deck.
Good evening, governing board members and Superintendent Gunning. I would like to read Arizona Revised Statute 15-111. Declaration of policy. The legislature finds and declares that public school pupils should be taught to treat and value each other as individuals and not be taught to resent or hate other races or classes of people. I would also like to let you know that our family has decided to unenroll our children from your district. This was a hard decision because we have had some amazing teachers. I can't complain about any of the teachers my children have had for the last 18, 19 years. But we are terrified of what your equity work will force on them. We do absolutely support equal opportunities for all students, whatever that looks like. If it's just a kid who needs help because they're an English language learner, or they need to see the board or closer. We're not trying to say we don't want that, but we don't support equal outcomes. I think that is, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can't force equal outcomes. So that's why I am unenrolling my children.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Richard Gerhart, Mark Bussell, you are on deck. Thank you.
Just barely half of our students perform at grade level. I'd like to know why. That's not a rhetorical question. I would really like to know why, but nobody seems to be able to answer that. You're getting ready and all geared up to join the latest social fad promoted by a Marxist college coot named Kendi. I would rather you use your resources and talents to help the other half of our students catch up to the rest of the world. I've served on 2 school boards, and yes, parent involvement is key, and I think you're slighting that. I'm not saying Alhambra is perfect. There are a lot of things that they do I don't like. There are a lot of things they do that I do like. But I think you have to look inside and find out why are half of your students subpar. You're not doing a good job.
Thank you, Mr. Gerhart. Mark, Deborah Bohm, you're up on deck.
President Clymer and members of the board, thank you for taking public comments tonight. While I'm discouraged that the concerns of some in our community were ignored in order to have this meeting in person tonight, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you. First off, that was a wild presentation full of misstatements, half-truths, and blatant misrepresentations that we saw. And I hope that's the last we see of supercharging anything in our schools. We all know what the big topic will be here tonight. We also know that whether you're wearing purple or gold or anything in between, those here in attendance likely have their minds made up regarding the benefits of the equity work. but those in attendance are such a small part of our community. I have here binders full of dozens of letters and emails from LESD parents and students, teachers and constituents, a copy for each of the board members and Superintendent Gunning, since many of the stakeholders were unable to make a meeting on such short notice. Finally, there is one thing we've heard at most of these public comments, and we heard it tonight. Opponents of equity often use a small snippet of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. I thought I would give Dr. King a little more airtime with a segment from his letter from a Birmingham jail. Dr. King wrote, quote, "I must confess that over the past few years, I have been greatly disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in this stride toward freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klan, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with the message or direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from good people, goodwill, is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection," end quote. Member of the board, the time to act is now. We cannot continue to kick the can because children's lives and the futures are on the line. We must be devoted to justice rather than to order, as some here seek. We must advocate for a positive peace rather than the absence of tension that some look for. Regardless of your position within this school system, if you do not want to act toward improving equity now out of fear or ideology, or because you want to avoid unpleasantness in this community, do the students of the district a favor and step aside so this important work can be done. I yield my time.
Thank you. Deborah Bone. Thank you very much. Michael Finnegan, you will be on deck.
Turn this a little bit. I, Deborah Bain, one of the people of Arizona, having all rights and exercising my right to teach fundamental principles to those in any governing related position, do bring this notice of order to receive due care. The Arizona Constitution sets the foundation for all action by public and private entities within the state of Arizona. Article 2, Section 2, all political power is inherent in the people, and governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. All political power resides with the people. Any political power assigned to any elected official is only given at the behest of the people. Article 11, Section 7, no sectarian instruction shall be imparted in any school or state education institution, but the liberty of conscience hereby secured shall not so be construed as to justify practices or conduct inconsistent with the good order, peace, morality, or safety of the state or with the rights of others. Article 20, Ordinance, Public School System, 7th, provisions shall be made by the law for the establishment and maintenance of a system of public schools which shall be open to all children in the state and free from sectarian control. As one of the people of Arizona, I'm aware of attempts to introduce theory that is directly opposed to the Arizona Constitution. There are blatant attempts to implement thinking that opposes our representative republic, indoctrinate our children in a culture of hate, exposes our children to minority ideology as if it were common, and exposes our children to sexual information that is in direct opposition to the wishes of their parents. I now give you notice to the intent to take whatever measures are required to assure that the children of LESD receive a quality education which aligns with the will of the people of Arizona. All curriculum must fit within the confines of the will of the people and good order, peace, morality, or safety. There may be no sectarian instruction. Sectarian may be construed to mean any instruction that has to do with a group with a particular set of interests, any group wishing to impose their will on the greater majority without regard to the Constitution. The LESD school board has practiced maladministration as they have attempted to implement a sectarian ideology that has not met with the approval of the parents represented in LESD. I hereby demand and require that our rights under the Arizona Constitution be upheld to the fullest extent. All attempts at implementation and instruction of any sectarian curriculum, critical race theory, 1619 project, or any subset of these be immediately withdrawn from any further consideration in LESD. Furthermore, I here demand that no form of sex education be introduced in any classroom without the informed consent of the child's parent. It is my will to resolve these issues in a peaceable manner to avoid any unnecessary disturbance. I thank you for your immediate action to establish order, redress my significant concerns, and rectify all abuses of our state constitution. You have now been served with notice of intent to pursue whatever means is required to rectify the violation of the Arizona Constitution.
Thank you. Michael Finnegan. You are up. Brenda Kilhofer, you are on deck.
Hello, everyone. Critical race theory says that it can find racism in anything. It occurs in all interactions. If I'm a store owner and two customers come in, one black and one white, what happens? If I wait on the black person first, critical race theory says I did so because I don't trust black people to be left alone in the store. That's racist. If I wait on the white person first, critical race theory says I did so because black people are second-class citizens. That's racist too. That's critical race theory. It can find racism in anything. It's a heads I win, tails you lose proposition. I'm not here this evening to talk about critical race theory or equity, diversity, and inclusion. They are not the solution to LESD's pathetic, cumulative, failed academic proficiency and discipline results in this school district. I don't like saying that, and you don't like hearing it, but Kim Moran's school data shows it. Calling yourself an A+ rated school is fraudulent with these kind of results. This evening, I choose to seek common ground and talk about something we can all agree on, the need for academic excellence. Proficiency test scores in math and language are the most critical at the third grade level. Why? Because first through third grade is the foundation for building upon more advanced concepts in math and language. If the basic concepts aren't grasped by third grade, then cumulative deficits in proficiency will develop moving forward. Cumulative is the key word here. Students drop out of school or graduate functionally illiterate every year because they got behind. We have to figure out why and fix it. At the community chats, I stress the importance of greater parental involvement in the school and child. After all, the parents are the children's first teacher. While government mandates more failed curriculum changes, including critical race theory, there's another alternative in-house solution and proven concept to improve education excellence. This concept's proposed by retired Lieutenant General in the U.S. Army, Marvin Koval. His concept is called campaign homeroom. The first 20 minutes of every school day will be devoted to homeroom period. Teachers and/or volunteers will teach a character curriculum every day to every student in every school. The character values curriculum covers accountability, responsibility, punctuality, preparedness, perseverance, courtesy, honesty, respect, and sportsmanship. The results will be accountability, respect, and preparedness in your schools. This curriculum is transformational. Why? Because accountable students do not resort to blaming and excuses.
Mr. Finnegan, your time is up. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Fastest 3 minutes of the day.
It is. Thank you for your comments, though. We appreciate them. Brenda Kilhofer, you're next. Michelle Dillard, looks like. I apologize if I mispronounced that. You are on deck.
In 2013, I became involved in a leadership and personal development company. Part of my exercise right off the bat in immersing myself there was to completely unplug from the media. I did so until 2019 when COVID hit. And when I jumped back, at that time, I began learning about freedom, the matrices of control, and the forces that threaten freedom. I also became painfully aware of how broken our education system is. And quite frankly, it's been that way for a long time, and it has not prepared people for adulthood. When COVID broke out, I turned on the news. I listened to different news stations. I began to ask myself, have we entered the twilight zone? I saw clearly that there truly was a left media and a right media, and both reported completely different stories, and both seemed to tell the viewer what to think rather than report the facts and allow the viewer to decide what to think for themselves. That's how I see the TEW, a narrative that tells us what to think rather than report the facts. As the equity statement plays out here at LESD, the media tells the same two sides you hear in our meetings and on our social media sites. Governing board, parents, our fight is not with one another. Our battle is for the hearts and the minds of our children. And I see a community where we've stood in judgment of one another over and over again. Everyone wants to be heard, and few want to listen. I've made the decision to enroll my children in a charter school that aligns with my core values and the values I want my children to grow up with. My ask of each of you is that you unplug from the media sources, really look at what special interest groups are stepping in with solutions, and are these solutions truly providing what we want for our kids, our community, and our nation? And have these solutions ever really worked? Do we want our children to be free thinkers, inventors, and problem solvers? Or do we want them to be political activists for a political agenda and a system of control? I realized last week that we are all simply playing the role these systems of control have asked us to play as activists on our respective sides. We've learned our respective narratives well, and the divide that I believe none of us wants grows deeper. As a result, we've not modeled the behavior we want and expect from our children. And I take responsibility for any role I may have played in that. And I would ask that everyone stand up and do the same. We need to find a better way. I will not be attending future meetings, but I am not laying down my sword. I will continue to fight for our rights as parents to be the governing body when it comes to training our children's hearts. And I will stand with all parents who want to do the same, even if you want to train your children and your child's heart differently than I choose to train mine, because that is what freedom is. It has become painfully obvious to me that somewhere along the lines, LESD has chosen to utilize resources and committee members that only offer one perspective in this audience, in this argument. I really look forward to my son Jeremiah attending school with neighborhood friends and graduating high school in the community, but I can't be in alignment with the current options on the table, and this makes me sad. Parents and community members, I'd just like to remind you that there are other options. We can vote with our feet. We can vote by moving our children and our tax dollars to educational institutions that will honor our value and beliefs through tax credits. It's no longer okay for us to allow a broken system to dictate the lens that our children view the world through.
Thank you.
I'm complete.
Michelle, you are up. Steve Daniels, you'll be on deck.
Hi, my name is Michelle Dillard. I'm from Purple for Parents. We're a parents' rights group. And I was pleased to see the presentation that you gave where you were encouraging parental involvement and we're hoping that the district would create some sort of policy or program to do that. And I would recommend to these other board members that seemed really confused by that you check out Arizona Revised Statute 15-102. Because as the school board and the school board members, you are statutorily required to consult with parents, teachers, and administrators to develop and adopt a policy to promote the involvement of parents, which is what his program was about. You all seem confused about that, as you have some additional laws like the Parents' Bill of Rights, which is Arizona Revised Statute 1-602. Now, parents hold the exclusive right in the state of Arizona to the upbringing of our children, the moral training of our children, and the religious training of our children. You acknowledge that there is a very diverse community that you're serving, okay? But you are trying to only fit your agenda and push your narrative on all of our children, okay? You can't do that. You don't get to choose which values, virtues, and morals that our kids have because you think that it fits your narrative or the society that you want to see. These are rights that are granted to parents. Actually, they're guaranteed to parents, not granted, because there are rights, God-ordained rights. You don't get to take them. You don't get to trespass against them, and you need to stop and step off. These are our rights.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels, Pamela Hack, you'll be on deck.
My name's Steve Daniels. I'm the president pro tem of Patriot Party of Arizona and also a member of Purple for Parents. What you guys are doing with this equity program that you're trying to push, and I appreciate your presentation, sir, because to Michelle's point previously, parent involvement is very important in helping kids develop and excel. The fact that parents aren't more involved, and I thank all the parents that are here today because that means that you're involved in your kid's life. I don't know how many people here from outside this district. We all have a say because you accept state funds, and that's my tax dollars as well. But I want to see them going to the right things. The right things are not racist programs. So each of you individually up here who think that these programs, which cater to a certain color of any color versus everyone, that's racist. Singling kids out for the color of their skin and saying, oh, you need special treatment because you have a different skin color. That's racist. I consider you a racist because of the way you push back on this gentleman when he's trying to make it equal opportunity for these kids, not equal outcome. You can't force equal outcome. That's not how life works. You should step out of, maybe you've only been involved in education your whole life. Maybe you don't have a whole lot of real world experience. I do. So you don't get to force equal outcomes. That's not how life works. That's why society's broken. So what I would challenge all these parents is, if this board wants to act inappropriately, take your kids out of the school. Because guess what? If these parents don't send their kids to your schools, you don't have a job. Superintendent doesn't have a job. Superintendent works for the board. I want to make that very clear as well. It seems that everybody caters to the superintendents in this state. It's not how it works. Sorry, they don't work for you. So parents, get better school board members if you want to keep the schools open. Otherwise, send them to ALA. I hear ALA is opening up this fall. Homeschool, do a co-op, do a micro school, do a charter school. This guy's laughing. He's a clown. So y'all need to act right. Make the right decisions for these parents and these kids. Otherwise, parents, take your kids out. That's all I have to say.
Mrs. Hack, you are up. Brian Borges would be on deck.
Good evening. I will be sharing with the board and superintendent a petition that has been signed by 60 members of the community. I will simply read the opening statement. We, the undersigned, believe that in order to close the student achievement gap, Arizona school districts, including the Litchfield Elementary School District, must continue the work of equity and inclusion. We support the governing board and superintendent who have championed this work because data shows that without it, we will fail students in our community. Furthermore, equity and inclusion work will help to create a more inclusive learning environment and give all students the tools they need to succeed. When students succeed, our communities succeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brian, you're up. Jacqueline Anderson, you are on deck and our last person for this evening.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak out. I haven't done this before. Bear with me. I came here tonight after I was informed of the transformational equity work that came out in February on the website there. Read through it, had some concerns, of course. And quite frankly, I've done some research, talked with some individuals within the LESD school district who are, I would consider, very knowledgeable resources, asking them questions on this. And a lot of the feedback I got from those resources verbally made me think, this doesn't seem that bad. When I read through that document, though, many of the things that they verbally addressed to me that made me feel good, I said, okay, wait a minute, but how does that deal with this transformational equity work? Specifically, that whole document is pretty much based on race for the most part. And so I never really got any answers there. The bottom line, what I was told was that that document shouldn't have been sent out. I don't know if that's right or wrong. Maybe y'all could address that it's been totally revitalized, that there's a lot of differences in it. So some of my concerns here may not have to be addressed. And so maybe y'all can address that. If there's an updated document, is it available for us to review? When I asked a couple people in administration about that, they said they weren't aware of that. Are you going to come out with a revised document? Is it going to be published for all of us parents to be able to review that? Because naturally, you know, a good relationship is open between both of us. So I would, you know, expect that that would at some point come out. When I looked through this document, quite honestly, I was just filled with a number of questions. I'm sure you don't have time to answer it all, but a lot of the questions that came out with is, where did this come from? Where did LSD grab this agenda and say, we need to put this into our schools? Was there some, what incidents have happened? What spurred it on that we decided we need to put this into the school district? I'm not aware of anything. If you could address that. When I read through it, the bottom line, what I see is reduced discipline of Black students, reduced disproportionality and achievement of Black and Hispanic students. It's black and white in there. How? I mean, quite frankly, going to your point, when you did your presentation, it was a bit long. You could consolidate a bit. I think everyone agreed there. But I gathered the bottom line was that parents, the single greatest ingredient to these changes, these numbers that you want to bring up, the discipline numbers you want to bring down, the single greatest ingredient isn't more equity training. It's not gender identity or any of this that's on there. I mean, who would disagree in this room that the single greatest ingredient is parental involvement with the kids? You would see substantial numbers. That would be the single greatest ingredient to affect these numbers for all positive change for all students, irregardless of color, irregardless of sexual orientation or any of that. And to me, where is that in LESD to really reach out more? Because that single aspect would do far greater than any of this current agenda going on.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is up. We appreciate it. Jacqueline Anderson.
Hi, I'm here in support of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And while I'm a parent, I'm also a huge supporter of the teachers who are building up our future world by teaching and loving the children of our community. So today I wanted to share some comments from teachers who felt like they couldn't share their voices, but whose views I wholeheartedly support. Here's the first. So many people, including Mr. Honak, have specifically targeted our goal to increase the diversity of our curriculum and to give teachers the tools they need to adequately examine what they teach. I've heard and read the words indoctrination too many times to count. How about we replace that word with the words inclusion and representation? As someone who helped write that goal, let me tell you what our true intentions were. We wanted to make sure that all students would see themselves represented in the stories we put in their hands. So what does that mean? What does that look like? It means teachers and schools fill their libraries with a diverse range of texts, representing students from many different backgrounds. Did you know that children are 50 times more likely to see a white child as the main character in a children's book than a Native American? That they are twice as likely to see an animal as the main character in a book than a Black character, and 6 times as likely to see an animal as a main character than a Latina character. In fact, 50% of children's books feature a white child as the main character, and 27% of children's books feature animals as the main character. Animal characters beat out every other racial group combined. We also want to make sure that when we do include these diverse texts and characters, that we don't only include the stories of pain and trauma. While those stories are important to our understanding of history, they are not the only stories. Let's include books that show underrepresented groups experiencing joy and love and friendship. So does this sound like indoctrination to you? And a second letter. As a parent, resident, and employee of this district for 20 years, I've always believed this district has done the best for students and staff. In my position, I've been a classroom teacher, committee member, and part of the leadership team. As the events of this past summer began to unfold, I truly began to reflect. I reflected on my experience with students and staff, and I began to read. I wanted to understand the systemic side of the racism that is happening in this country. I read, listened, learned, and reflected. I've grown as an educator and a person. I know of this equity statement because I'm an involved community member and employee. I read the agenda and watched every meeting and session. Nothing about this statement was hidden, and there is nothing about this statement that isn't good for staff and students. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, that concludes our public comment.
President Clymer, I do have some points I would like to correct based on the opportunity to respond to criticism. The first is the quote regarding Arizona Statute 15-111, which states the legislature finds and declares that public school pupils shall be taught to treat and value each other as individuals and not be taught to resent or hate other races or classes of people. We are not teaching hatred or resentment of races or classes. It has been said before and it will be said again. We are not considering the adoption of critical race theory. We currently have no plans to adopt new curriculum. The second point I would like to clarify is that we are an A-rated district. We do not call ourselves an A-rated district. The Arizona Board of Education issues district grades based on academic achievement. The last rating issued to LESD was an A. I'm rebutting criticism of our district, sir. No, any criticism. The third item that I would like to clarify is that the equity work started as a data-driven decision based on achievement and discipline disparities that we found last fall. We are open as a board and as a district to any and all potential solutions to these disparities. The fourth item I would like to clarify is that school choice is a meaningful and valuable tool in your parenting toolbox. I fully support school choice.
Thank you. Let's move on. We are moving on to item 5A, our consent agenda. I will open the floor for comments or discussion on the consent agenda or entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved as presented. That carries us all the way down to item 7A, governing board meeting protocol, use of video recording of governing board meetings. This is on the agenda due to a request from a governing board member. I will open the conversation. Jeremy, I will let you speak first because you requested this to be on the agenda. We are currently, just as an update, we currently stream our meetings onto YouTube. We have in the past had a video segment as well as audio and showing our exhibits and agenda presentations, etc. Due to some safety concerns, we have moved that to remove the video component and do only the audio and the agenda and presentations, etc. That is the beginning of the discussion. Mr. Honak, you asked for this to be on the agenda, so I will allow you to present your thoughts.
Thank you. Video's ubiquitous. Everybody in 2021 has a video recorder on their phone that's better than any camcorder that you could buy 30 years ago. Every public meeting anywhere has video. And to say that you have to remove video for safety is incredible. I mean, we have law enforcement officers here. You're never going to hear one of them say, oh, we don't want to have video. They're all wearing them. And for their own protection, actually. And, you know, if there, God forbid, were something to happen, you would want to have it on video. Secondly, what about the people that can't come here and they want to look at a board meeting? And I understand that I got a text that there was, I understand there was a technical problem and they stopped for it, that there was, the sound was cut off and it was a technical problem, fine. But why is voluntarily there no video for people to see what the heck is going on here? And some things have gone on here that the public should be able to see. I know it's sad that some of the things that happened, some of the people, maybe board members didn't like it being recorded on video, but this is incredible. There's video everywhere. And to say that a public meeting of a public institution that has a budget of approximately 80-something million that we pay for, and you're not going to let us see video of it and go back and look at it later. And I know a lot of people can't even come to the meeting and they want to look at it or they want to go find out what's going on. This is a no-brainer. Why are we even discussing this? Put the video in like the rest of the world, unless you're trying to hide something. And I think the average person out there has come to the conclusion that you're trying to hide something.
Okay, I will open up the floor to board member comments or questions.
I'd just like to clear this up. The reason why it was put on non-video is because I was specifically, individually, purposely targeted as a Black person on this board. I was targeted as a cop hater, a BLM supporter, a racist, and a 15-year veteran teacher as doing inappropriate things in school. That is not true. And when I am specifically targeted as a Black person, the only Black person on this board, and I am in the community, easily targeted, I'm sorry, but my video does not need to be put out there. There are people dying every single day when you use the words cop hater and Black Lives Matter. Regardless of what I believe, you have slandered me and targeted me in this community. There are people in Fry's that I go to that stare at me with hatred because of what they're reading. You have stated things about me that no one has been able to verify. The podcast episode was done with my 13-year-old son. I have not said anything negative about these cops. My father was a police officer in Detroit. I do not hate cops. I do not hate anyone, but I do not have to like you. All that I owe you is respect. And respectfully, because it is not mandated by the law, we do not have to videotape when there is a Black person targeted with words such as thug to this whole entire community. That is why I requested for it to not be recorded. That is also why this was supposed to be virtual. They are not hiding. They are not trying to keep me anywhere. They are trying to keep me alive. And if you cannot respect that, then I digress.
And this was litigated, if we're going to get into this. I'm not going to get into the details, but this was litigated in a court, and I was slandered, and a injunction was obtained against me, which was false. And the next day it was in the newspaper. It got dismissed. It was dismissed because there were no grounds. Thank you.
Danielle, let me please comment.
Yes.
I'm not here to argue with you, Jeremy.
Why are we having a debate? You brought it up.
Can I please speak? I am not here to argue with you. I do not understand why you think I'm here to argue with you. The only reason why I do not interact with you is because you cannot respect people who think differently than you. I am not uneducated. The very thing that you're talking about, parental engagement, I studied for 5 years. I was willing to work with you, but for you to call me hostile and do all these things, that is why I don't work with you. Can I please
reached out to you over and over with letters that are documented that the court read.
Jeremy.
You're the one that went and insulted and
Okay, we're not having this debate here. We're not having this debate.
I'm not trying to debate. All I want to say is I want to clear this up for anybody who is questioning me and what I believe and what I stand for. There are people on both sides of this table that know exactly what I stand for and what I don't stand for. If you ever question me and have any concerns with me, come to me. I have said that from the very beginning. I know I sit here quietly, but I'm tired of being targeted as an African-American woman that anytime I raise my voice to answer, I'm arguing and debating. I'm not arguing, I'm not debating, but I am not going to be sitting up here quiet and not addressing the false narratives that are spread about me. If you do not know that I care about parents, go ask Belen Soto. Go ask the different districts that I've worked in. Go ask those students. Go ask those superintendents. But if you have problems with me, come speak to me. That is all.
We need to get back to the agenda item at hand. That is the use of video in our board meetings. It is not legally required to show video. We are displaying the audio in every presentation or thing that goes along with our meetings or agenda items. I'd like to make a motion that we leave the video decision up to the superintendent as she sees fit in terms of safety and security in our meetings, and not have that be a board decision. If at any point in time we need to go back to that, we will. But right now, I think she is responsible for making sure this meeting is safe and secure. She is the one that was responsible for hiring law enforcement and making sure us as board members and you as community members are safe. And I think this is part of that. That was a very long motion. I apologize.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, you can.
I'm sorry, I don't exactly know how to ask this. If it's not legally required, I guess what are the pros of having the video? Why wouldn't we just vote as a board that we're no longer going to use video, that it was something that we did for COVID? And at this point, we will stream the audio as a convenience for anyone who won't be able to attend the meetings. But why even take that chance with the video?
I don't have a specific answer to that. I think if, you're just, I'm saying we leave it open. You're saying, let's just close the door.
I'm saying let's close the door because I have more, it is more important to me that my fellow board members feel safe than it is for someone at home to see my face. And so in order to prioritize the safety of myself and my fellow board members, I think we should close the door on the video.
Okay, there is currently a motion on the table. If there is not a second, you may make another motion if you choose, or anyone up here can do that.
Well, I'd make a motion that we have video
I'm just saying, if there is no
I
second.
want to second your motion. I'd like the opportunity, if we want to bring it back at another time, to be able to do that, but to leave it up to the superintendent to decide when that is. Because the feedback I've gotten from community members is that they want our board members to feel safe, but they also are missing the video. So they want that to come back when our board feels like it's a safe environment again.
There is currently a motion on the table for the video component of our board meetings to, the decision to do that on a meeting by meeting basis to rest with the superintendent in terms of safety and security of our meetings. It has been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Nay. Nay.
Jeremy, Kim are nay. Dr. Armstead, I'm sorry, let's do this individually just to make sure. Dr. Armstead, your vote? Melissa?
Nay.
Okay, I'm also aye. Okay, motion does not pass with a tie. I will entertain another motion.
I motion that we eliminate the use of video recordings at governing board meetings unless or until we, as a governing board, deem it appropriate.
Okay, there is a motion on the table to stop video altogether until the board deems it's appropriate. There is a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
I just want to do this individually. I'm sorry to make sure there were any ayes. Dr. Armstead? Melissa? Kim?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay. The vote is 4-1. Motion carries. Okay, we are moving on to item 7B, the equity statement updates and next steps. Out here, my apologies. This discussion about the equity statement is kind of a continuation progress monitoring of where we are, where we have been in the last couple of months. Many of you guys have been following along, and where we are moving forward. CB, if you want to move forward a couple of slides to the strategic plan alignment. This is something that we always do. I think the equity plan aligns with every single one of our strategic pillars: student success, people, keep going, service, and finances, resources. You can refer to our strategic plan in order to read those specific pillars and goals. Moving forward, one more to our current progress. One more, I'm sorry. There you go. We had a governing board study session on the equity statement in particular on April 27th. We had a really great facilitated discussion about what we wanted for the equity statement, where it was going, what steps we needed to take to create community involvement and additional feedback opportunities, but also how to keep the process moving and continuing forward. From that meeting, there were a couple of to-dos and takeaways for the board members. Those are as follows. Dr. Armstead and myself, we met to discuss staff and parent engagement opportunities, what that might look like. Ms. Moran and Mr. Honak categorized all of the questions that we collected from the study session into specific audience segments, who needed to be asked what and how. Mrs. Zeideman and Superintendent Gunning discussed the timeline for finalizing the equity statement and the next steps for moving forward, which is later on in this presentation. Superintendent Gunning and I also have been working to identify a third-party researcher to aid in the development of a staff and parent survey. We are doing that specifically to make sure that all of the questions that are asked are fair and unbiased, and we have a third party looking at that. Also drafted topics and questions from the original questions and material at the study session were done. Moving on at this point, and what I'm calling the strategy for success, in which I hope that we can follow something similar to this. This is my recommendation. We have been in the engage phase here, engaging stakeholders in dialogue related to the vision of the district in terms of equity, both short and long-term priorities for the future. There have been many different opportunities for that and will continue to be throughout this process as I'm recommending. Next is, we're creating a focused and actionable plan aligned to the priorities of our community and the strategic plan of the district. We are in this phase right now in terms of where we are moving forward with both the equity work and the additional work of the district. Next, obviously, we're going to execute the plan via our specific actions, timelines, resource allocations, and developing metrics for success. We haven't gotten to this point yet, but one of the most important parts of any new program, anything that we're doing with the district is creating metrics for success, and we will evaluate any program to make sure that it's working. I know me specifically, and probably other board members up here too, we are data driven and we want to see what this looks like in practice. None of us have a crystal ball, so we don't know exactly how this is going to turn out. And I think we would be really remiss in saying that we need to develop very specific metrics for success in order to evaluate that moving forward. And last, we will evaluate this plan based on our predetermined goals and metrics, not change them along the way. Once they're predetermined, then that's our metrics for success moving forward. We will adjust our actions and timelines as needed to improve student success. And I'm going to read that one more time because I think maybe we get off track a little bit. Whether it is the Supercharged Life Adventure or the equity statement or the traditional academy or anything else we do up here, our first priority is to make sure we are improving success for our students. That is all this should be about. 150%. That's what this should be about. And if we need to adjust our actions and our timelines along the way to improve that success, that is what we should all be prepared to do. Moving forward, Stevie, if you'll go one more. This is the equity statement timeline and next steps, as I referenced earlier. March through May, we engaged stakeholders. We did that through our community chats with the district, Jody and her staff, governing board outreach. I know many of us up here have met with constituents, whether it's in person or via email or telephone conversations, or even group meetings to try and get feedback and all of that. We had our district study session to review and discuss the equity statement, as I mentioned, in late April. Moving to this month, we promised an update, and that's what we're doing now. We are engaging in an employee survey and a parent survey later on this month. And at that point, we will analyze that feedback data as it comes in. If needed, the district will pull additional data in relationship to that equity work. There are some questions in these surveys about what we currently know and what we don't know, and what parents want to know more of and what our community members want to know more of. So, I am hoping that the district will, be able to address those concerns and address those with specific data if it's available and appropriate. I will interject one thing that I received prior to this meeting in terms of additional community involvement. In this presentation that's been online, people noticed that there was employee and parent surveys, but were disappointed that there wasn't a community survey component. What I will tell you is there is no, there is no way for us to send out an electronic survey specifically to all community members, right? We don't have a database of everyone that lives in LESD. I will say that we will investigate every opportunity that we can to share information via the website, or have links to that information there that community members can review or answer questions that way. Also, we have our public comment and governing board outreach and email program there. We are not trying to, I am not trying to cut out community members in any fashion. It is just very difficult from a tactical perspective to make sure that we include everyone in the district if we were to send out an electronic survey in that way. So we will investigate other ways to engage and provide that information and gather feedback from the community as we move forward. Moving forward in July, it's my recommendation that at our next regular governing board meeting, that we be prepared to make a decision on this equity statement. We've said at our last study session that we had a couple of different options, including leaving the equity statement as is, providing some revisions and discussion about what that looks like, and moving forward from there, or rescinding it altogether. There was a consensus of the board that We wanted to continue the equity work as was suggested, and potentially make some revisions to that. After we have additional surveys and data pulled from the district, it is my hope that after the end of this month, we will have everything that we need in order to make that decision and move forward. I would like for the district administration, we have talked about their revised goals. The original goals, they have begun to revise goals based on community chats and community engagement and things like that. It is my recommendation that we go back to the very beginning. As the gentleman spoke at our last, I think our last gentleman here that spoke at the public comment, a lot of those questions that you had about the TEW were good and valid questions. And I want to make sure that when information is released, number one, that it is officially by the district. That is information that we want to be out there. We want to get information back. This was not released in that way. We go back to the beginning and start with our goals, right? We are going to present the goals and allow community feedback from there. Once we get a consensus on goals, we will move to strategies, we will move to tactics, and we will create the plan together. That is what I'm hearing that this community wants. And that is what I hope as a board we can give them. I will say that Jody and her staff are the educators in the room. They are the subject matter experts. And while I am going to provide feedback on specific curriculum or other updates as required as a governing board member, I am also going to put faith in the teaching professionals that we have hired to do this job. And I hope you all will do the same, because everyone that got up here and spoke, whether it was tonight or any other meeting, has always said how amazing our teachers and staff are. And I know we may have differences on other things, but I have all the faith in the world that our staff and our teachers are going to come up with what is absolutely best for our students in the classroom. Moving on to August through December, implementation of this timeline and additional engagement opportunities, as I mentioned. We will begin to discuss what those evaluation metrics are as the plan comes together and we see what the revised goals are, what the district is doing moving forward with strategies and tactics. We've had communication, we've had transparency, and we've had community engagement at every step. We can then discuss what that evaluation and metrics for success look like. Again, that will all be part of the community community record. We can discuss what that looks like and you guys can provide feedback. From that point, this work was never meant to be accomplished in 6 months or even a year. I think, for those of us that started this process last summer, I think we really understood that this was going to be a long process, that we had a lot to learn, that we were starting from the very beginning and needed to provide some guidance to the district, but also needed to partner with our educators and educational resources to get there. And I think, and I hope that is what we will do moving forward. We will continue in that process. So if you go to the next slide, CV, where do we go from here? I think I just kind of started talking about these things. I want us to continue to move forward, but we're going to do it slowly and we're going to do it with purpose. One of the main goals of this board, since I have been on it for 6 years, is transparency and trust from our community members. And I will admit, there are people in this room and there are people in our schools and in our community that have lost faith in us, that we have lost their trust. And I do take that responsibility with a very heavy heart and say, I'm going to do what I can to rebuild that trust. But I do also very much support this work, and I'm going to do those things hand in hand together the best that I can. I hope that we can embrace different perspectives and continue to listen to our stakeholders as we move through this process. There are lots and lots of opportunities for engagement, whether you want to do it face-to-face or you want to do it electronically or you want to do it via email. It seems like there are lots of opportunities and have been to do that. I want us to work together to make decisions and stand behind them. One of our own governing board policies that we have all agreed to is that once we reach a consensus of the board and we vote, we stand behind that vote, no matter what, unless something changes or something else comes up that would deter from that. So as a board, what we decide moving forward, we need to do it with unity. We can't expect our community to be unified in their efforts to create additional opportunities for student success if we aren't unified to do that. I want the district to provide clear and concise messaging about our equity work, how stakeholders can engage, what we're doing, and when we're doing it. I want community members, parents, students, staff to continue to ask questions and seek understanding. That includes board members, excuse me for not mentioning that. And last but not least, I want to say this, that this is personally, but also as the president of a governing board that I'm very, very proud of, and very, very proud of the community that we, or the school district that we lead. I am asking everyone in this room and everyone that is listening here in our community to just stop the hateful and divisive language that is hurting our staff. It's hurting our community. It is hurting our students. It is hurting our board members. It is hurting everyone here. I want the public discourse. I want us to have different ideas and different perspectives. I want people to come up here and feel comfortable sharing their ideas, but we have to stop dividing ourselves into factions and segments all over our community. It's not doing any of us any good. We're not making progress. And that's what, as a board, that's what we are required to do. That is our mission here, to make progress and do better by our students every year that we can. And I really hope that we can not only do that as a board, we can do it as a community, and we can do it as a staff as we start back school next year, because we just got off of one of the most difficult years in education in our world, probably in my lifetime. And I really hope that we can be the leaders in our little community right here of Goodyear, Litchfield Park, Buckeye, Avondale, that we can show the world that we can come together. We can be unified about hard things. We can have difficult conversations and respect each other's perspective if we don't agree on everything. I know that we can do this, and I beg of you at this point to try to lay down the hateful language, whether it be in this meeting, whether it be online or social media or emails to friends and family. Let's just start putting our children first. So with that, there's no formal vote required tonight. I just wanted to open it up. The floor is open, obviously, for conversation and discussion. There's no vote required. I just wanted to, as promised, to come back to our community and to our stakeholders and let them know what has transpired since our April meeting, what my vision is moving forward for the board, and what our timeline is for decision making. So it is open for discussion, and I will allow comment.
I just have a follow-up question. When, as a board, will we discuss any potential revisions to the equity statement?
That is a great question. We have one additional opportunity at the end of this month. We have a special meeting for our budget, so we can add that to an agenda there. We can also, if we need extra time. Otherwise, my suggestion would be that we do those revisions during the general meeting in July. During the
As to the, I know that Ms. Moran and I did not find a lot in common in our idea of the kind of questions. But I think, to be fair, there should be a poll of the public based upon the academics and other things. It should be a choice, should we focus on something that's going to address academics, or should we focus on equity? And I think that's a simple question. We don't need to hire more facilitators and experts and committees and whatever, because it sounds like the public doesn't want this at all, with the exception of a few small percentage of very strong radical people. But the board is not listening to that and has decided that we're going to try to spray paint it pink or yellow, or keep shuffling it around until we come up with some version of equity that the public is going to accept. I don't have a crystal ball, but my prediction is you can paint it every which way and it's not going to change at all. The fact that by and large, people want education, not theories and honestly, racism and things like that.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I'm excited to get a survey out to our families and our staff so that we can finally put this idea that our community does or doesn't want this to bed, because we're going to get their feedback and we're going to hear what they want. I'm hoping that our whole board is open to whatever that feedback may be, even if it goes against what they think it's supposed to be.
Comments? Okay, we will move on. Thank you very much. Item 8A, school reopening plan, and that is Superintendent Gunning.
Madam President, members of the governing board, just a few updates in regards to reopening. One, we continue to have our weekly meetings with our medical director with Healthy Verify. We've made some changes to our mask procedures in relation to our summer school. And so students do not have to wear a mask outside. Adults who are vaccinated do not have to wear masks if children are not present. But they still have to wear masks if children are present or could possibly be present. So every week we get a new tidbit of information. And so we will continue to change and modify our procedures as we learn new information. The other piece to just watch for is that we will, as a part of ESSER 3, have to devise another reopening plan, similar to kind of what we did last year, but probably not as extensive. But that's just part of something that we have to submit for our grant as well.
Thank you, Jody. Appreciate it. As important and vital as the reopening plans are, I can imagine that as a staff, you're not super excited about doing another 50-page reopening document, but thank you very much for being on top of that. Next, we're going to item, oh, absolutely. I'm sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
People are asking what's going to be the mask thing the next year? I'll let you answer. I have my thoughts.
We're very hopeful. So we don't know exactly. We're seeing a lot of changes in the COVID rates, but the medical director is very hopeful. So every week we receive new information. So, and we will make changes even during summer school as we receive new information.
Actually, so basically you're going to postpone that decision as long as possible, and that's going to benefit. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you very much.
We wanted to make sure we stay consistent. We followed the health department's guidelines this entire time. So we want to stay consistent to that. Yeah. Yeah. Hold tight.
Moving on to item 8B, discussion on the district's use of conscious discipline. This was a request by Mr. Honak, so I will give you the floor in terms of discussion items on this. Thank you.
Well, it's very late, and so I will do it very quickly. I actually made a PowerPoint because I just was in the PowerPoint mode, but I've had a significant amount of feedback from teachers that are they love the school system and they like a lot of things about it, but they're very concerned with the conscious discipline. And the comments that I get over and over, one of them, I'm going to put a quote, but it could be several different quotes. It often rewards bad behavior. And the quote is, conscious discipline allowed him to leave my class and go play in a special room. And this seems to be heard over and over and over, that it discourages good behavior. And some students, they go, why are the bad kids that get rewarded? And there seem to be some people that have told me some really serious stuff. You hear a lot about there's just sort of general chaos in the rooms. The kids are not really paying attention, but there's throwing desks. There are kids that actually have threatened sexual, not good with other kids, and we're talking young kids, and that there's no great consequences for these. So that's from the standpoint of the teachers. And then I'll quickly go from, I have a number of links or whatever, but we've been told there's really no implementation of CRT or critical race theory or whatever, but LESD says go to consciousdiscipline.com for more information. And there are at least 5 links that are basically Ibram X. Kendi. As a matter of fact, one of them is Ibram X. Kendi. They interview him, human rights lawyer, organizer, director, sat down with Ibram X. Kendi, raising anti-racist kids and a lot of other things. So it's not just, I was a big fan of conscious discipline at first, but I think teachers and people have pretty much talked me out of it. Thank you.
Okay, I will open the floor. If you don't mind, I have one question I'll start with, and then I'll open it to other board members. So I haven't heard the same feedback, but thank you for sharing what teachers are saying. I haven't heard that same feedback, but my question is I think, well, my statement, let me say first, and then my question to you is, I think most people, or at least the feedback I'm receiving, is that social emotional learning is important, right? The mental health of our students, of our staff, even of our families is really important, especially after a year like COVID, and being able to provide some social emotional learning and character building through conscious discipline has, I believe, or what I've seen, has made a difference in our district. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but if you do agree with that social emotional learning is important and we should do it, are you recommending that we replace conscious discipline with something else, or that we remove it altogether and just abandon the social emotional learning concept, or replace it with something else?
I think I'm more of a data gatherer, reporting, and it is I'm just reporting that it's something that's not working. It sounds good, and I think in some situations, initially I stated to Superintendent Gunning that I thought in certain cases where there were troubled, or I don't know what kind of word to use, kids that are frustrated, or there's some toxic elements in their thinking or whatever, that it was helpful to them. But the other side of it is that for kids that are kind of not, it's just putting so much focus on feelings, I mean, we're entering a world like everybody's got to be in a safe space, to the point that speaking the truth is like crime, and so I think reporting it, I think maybe we ought to think about rescinding it, because the fact that it is associated with Kendi, and there's things on the website that say that that's a foundation of it, indicates that maybe there's some other motives in it other than just being for discipline. So, but again, I'm just kind of reporting, so I don't have all the answers. I can't really answer.
Okay. I will open it up the floor to comments or questions.
I'd just like to comment. I'm not sure the district is going to completely get rid of conscious discipline, but I think having alternatives and looking at other programs is where we need to be right now. I do agree that the social emotional of students is drastically low right now. So programs like All Things EQ, Kids at Hope, those programs are not focused just on specific students, but on building a culture in the school environment where we respect each other and the fact that we all have feelings, but teaching students that we all express them differently and learning how to do it more appropriately, if that makes sense. So even if we don't necessarily like conscious discipline, I think we need to offer educators an alternative, because just like the students' social emotional is drastically low, teachers is drastically low right now. So we can't just leave them hanging.
Kim, Melissa?
Oh, I guess I've had a different experience with conscious discipline than what's being reported. So I have been personally engaged in mental health and well-being for a while. I applaud the district's efforts through conscious discipline to make children aware of their feelings and how to regulate and monitor and control those feelings in a positive way. I would be interested to hear Superintendent Gunning's feedback on conscious discipline. It's offensive that Mr. Honak would say that this was some sort of slow burn, that we instituted conscious discipline as a way to then institute critical race theory. We've been doing conscious discipline for many, many years. And that's offensive that you would even try to tie those two things together in your mind. Superintendent Gunning, as I said, I'd love to hear your feedback on conscious discipline and the positives that it has had on this district.
Well, we have had many positives. This program was implemented over 5 years ago, and we implemented it in every level of the organization. So we utilize it in all of our staff meetings as well as in every classroom. It is misunderstood when you hear the word discipline. We have a discipline matrix, and there's consequences that are handed out in relation to behavior. Conscious discipline is about self-regulation and self-discipline, and it uses evidence-based and research and brain research on exactly how to regulate your body and to be aware. In relation, it leaks directly and perfectly into mental health and mental health awareness, because we are able to have children feel safe and safe in their environment, to be able to communicate what their needs are, and when they are feeling feelings of desperation, and being able to voice help. Also, it's teaching them to advocate for themselves and give them a voice. It's teaching children how to state what they need to state. If they do not like something, they can say, I do not like it when. And they're learning that skill in preschool. So I have seen, a lot of positive. I would say there was one email I think we all received, which I think is similar to what he was quoting from one person. And for that, I say that that's just continued education and continued growth and knowledge of what the actual program is about.
I agree with all of that. And I agree you need emotion. I think those are valuable things. They lead to mental health, and mental health is needed. And so I'm not, when when President Clymer says, am I against it, want to eliminate it? I don't really know, but it's so maybe it's just an issue of it doesn't fit everything. So there are cases where you need some good old fashioned consequences that, and maybe that's what I'm hearing is part of it. And and also I'm not making any aspersions or motives or whatever. I'm just stating a fact that the organization is I guess going along with everybody else. So I'm not saying that you guys were trying to sneak something like that. I'm just saying that it's there. But more to the point, I think what Superintendent Gunning said, those are positive things, and I think they're needed. And you know better than me, if it's working. I don't know. I'm just saying I hear some things about actual discipline and some pervasive kind of chaos, not motivation. But then again, that has to do with a lot of things, parental stuff and everything else. So thank you very much.
I'd like to make a request of the district. I think this is really important, and we do have 2 new board members that maybe haven't had as much experience or training in conscious discipline as others. I don't believe that summer, we have a lot on our plate right now is the time for this, but potentially in the fall, invite Megan Duplain and some other members that have taken the time to really, be the advocates for this program in our district, and just provide a study session for the governing board. I know we've done that before, but with new board members, and just a little bit about what has happened and what training the teachers get, what the example is set in the classroom, and also to Jeremy's point, if how that actually fits into discipline. Jody, I think you made a really good suggestion that conscious discipline, even though the word is there, that does not take place of our discipline matrix in the district. It was never meant to do that, but I think just the word choice, sometimes people get confused. So what I'd like to do is at a later time, potentially in the fall, come back, do a study session. I think it'd be great for our parents, our community members to hear and to see what resources of conscious discipline we actually use in the classroom, how it's utilized, how it affects the staff, how it affects students and families, because I think it does all of those things. We've even incorporated some of that training into our own into our own board meetings for that reason. So Megan, if you'd be open to doing that, I'd love to have you back doing that. So, and I think that would give everyone a little bit better or broader understanding of what it is, and you'll be able to ask some questions specifically of the people that have enacted it in our district and know what's going on every day.
I think this is a case where it's really important to have teachers give the feedback, because I mean, I think that's critical because they're the ones that are affected, and we just need to make sure that they feel that they can be open and not feel like they're, I think some speak up, so I don't know how to open that door. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on, we're going to wrap up with our reports this evening. So we'll start with Superintendent Gunning.
I will try to make mine really quick since we're approaching 9:30 or a little after. Some successes as we go into our summer, as we did begin summer school this week, and we have over 700 students participating district-wide in our summer school program. So we're very excited about that. I want to thank our technology department for getting back all of the laptops and having to reprogram and all of that stuff. That's going to take weeks as we kind of get everything, all of our equipment back and get them ready for next year. So those were just some of the positive highlights. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is kind of tagged along to what President Clymer stated in the presentation, is that it's really important to me that we move forward as a district in using language and actions that support a respectful environment. Unfortunately, this last week we had yet another, and I know a lot of people out there are like, well, why now? Why are you saying something now? I'm saying something now because it continues to snowball and behavior is not changing. And it's on both sides, but unfortunately this week it was in relation to an equity team that we had. And it was very unfortunate that there was information put out there. I do not condone, I do not support any type of threats or intimidation. It's not acceptable and it's not appropriate. And it's actually almost sad that we have to have law enforcement to the extent that we do, even in our board meetings. I do support our equity work. I will continue to support that, and I continue to support and ask that we all do it in a very respectful manner.
Thank you. We'll move on to reports from our governing board members. Jeremy, I'll let you begin. No reports.
I don't want to go first. I always go first. It's not fair. I just don't want to go first.
Okay. I will go first and then you may. Number one, I want to say thank you for your patience this evening. We had an executive session prior to this. Our meeting ran late. We had some technology issues. Thank you very much for sticking with us. It's important for us all to be here and to hear everything. So thank you to everyone working really hard to make sure that we can have this meeting in a safe and respectful environment, but also can be online and microphones working and all of that. Just want to talk about a few quick things I was able to do this last month that were really exciting. Things are opening up more and people are, beginning to celebrate and do it in groups, and I really love that. We had our retirement ceremony where we had, dozens of people that were celebrated for their years of service, not only in public education, but here in this district. I'm not sure exactly about this number, but I remember it was several weeks ago now, but I think it was over 250 years of combined service, 200 years, something like that, from these members of our district. And I just can't say thank you enough to all the people that dedicated their lives and livelihoods to us here in Litchfield. We really appreciate it. Right after that, the Pride Awards, which is so great. These are awards that are voted on by your peers. Both certified and classified staff are recognized in every department and every district across every department across this entire district. And it's just really great to see people celebrating each other. The last couple of months, we haven't had, many celebrations at our board meeting just because of our mandates with groups and things like that. And this was really, really great to see our district teachers and everyone come together and celebrate each other. Next, unfortunately, due to our COVID protocols, as board members, we weren't able to do one of the best parts, or in my opinion, one of the best parts of our job, which is to attend all of the 8th grade or as many 8th grade promotions as we can across the district. It's always a race to get from one district or one school to the other and across the district on the different days. And we weren't able to do that this time, but I was lucky enough to have an 8th grader that was promoting at Western Sky this year. So I was able to sneak into one of the many promotion ceremonies, and just not only as a governing board member, but as a parent and as a community member, thank you for creating these experiences. I know that last year it was very different, and this year I'm just really thankful that the district was able to put this together. Every homeroom class had their own promotion ceremony, so that at least at our school, so that they didn't have too many people and they had plenty of room, plenty of parking. And it couldn't have been a better experience for me, for my family, for my child. And it was so great to come and celebrate with our school family again. So also I have been meeting with a lot of constituents. It's great to talk on the phone or meet for coffee or whatever. My schedule is busy just like everyone else's, but we can always find time to come together. So again, please reach out. I am here, as our other board members, to listen and engage, whether it's, electronically or in person as our schedule allows. One thing, unfortunately, they left us this evening, but I just wanted to say a big thank you to Representatives Chavez and Sierra, who came to join us in our meeting tonight. We also had some fellow governing board members from Tellison High School District that snuck in the back as well. So it's good to see that other people in our community are looking to us to see what we're doing and to see how we handle ourselves. And thank you. Thank you for making this a positive meeting. We were able to engage at the podium in public comment. Thank you, law enforcement, for being here. I'm so glad that we didn't need you. So thank you to our community for making this meeting what it needs to be, and that is, focusing on our students and the district business. With that, I will pass it back.
I kind of ditto that, and I just want to say that it's been very hard for me to hear at every meeting. Right now, it's perfect. These speakers right here, thank you so much. I could actually hear what people were saying, and so my answers were slightly more logical. And so thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. Kim, I'll let you go next.
Well, this month has been a roller coaster, as has this meeting. I was able to attend 2 ASBA webinars this month, one on communication and one on equity. Similar to every month, I had some chats with Jody, although both she and I were able to get away for a bit of respite at the end of the school year. So the last couple of weeks, we have not been in as close of contact due to both of us taking some much needed time off. I was also able to attend the Retiree Celebration and Pride Awards with Ms. Zeidema and President Clymer, and it was an amazing event, and every year it just is better and better. So it was really a treat to be in person and actually feel that connection with other members of our LEST family. The final thing I'd like to wrap up my board report with is some encouragement. I would like to continue to encourage bravery. Choosing what is right over what is easy requires bravery. And there are two groups I want to focus on. The first is governing board member service. As governing board members, we signed up for this volunteer, unpaid position for a variety of reasons and motivations. None of us signed up to be threatened, harassed, or bullied. Yet that is where we now find ourselves with no end in sight. I am so proud of the ongoing bravery displayed by President Clymer, Ms. Zaidama, and our newest board member, Dr. Armstead. I am equally as proud of the work we have done and will continue to do as a board. While we may not always agree, we are truly better together. The second group I want to encourage to be brave are our students, staff, and teachers who identify as LGBTQ+. June is Pride Month, and as an ally, I want you to know that as stated in our equity statement, we seek to value and accept all members of our LESD family and community with consideration and appreciation for all aspects of identity. We see you and we welcome you to be you. I will close by quoting select lyrics from the song Brave by Sarah Bareilles. You can be amazing. You can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love, or you can start speaking up. Say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. Innocence, your history of silence won't do you any good. Did you think it would? Let your words be anything but empty. Why don't you tell them the truth? Say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Melissa?
I always have to go after Kim. She's so.
Sorry, I think I maybe just need to bring a hat and draw. Everyone just seems to be upset about my just going from left to right here. So I will figure out a different strategy for next time, I promise.
That's fine. So this has been a busy month. I was asked to speak to our NJHS induction students at Wigwam Creek Middle School. That was right after our last board meeting, and that was really exciting to celebrate these kids because this is a tough year to be doing any kind of community service, and yet it's needed the most. So it was exciting to celebrate these kids and their accomplishments in a very difficult year to accomplish these things. I also was able to attend the retirement celebration and the Pride Awards. I sit on the LESC Education Foundation as like the board liaison for them. And so it was exciting because they got to find out that they were going to get more money, which was super exciting for them because the foundation gives a monetary award to the winners of the award, as well as the just having that pride of being selected by their school peers. So that was a fun thing to go to and to celebrate all our staff. I agree. I concur with everybody that finally being able to get together and celebrate people in person was really nice. I also have an 8th grader, and so the principal at Wigwam Creek Middle School asked me if I would stand up with them because I was going to be there anyways. So I got to celebrate our 8th graders in one of the celebrations for 8th grade promotion, which was really exciting to do that. And to, again, these kids have had a tough year and they have worked hard and they are ready to move on to high school, which is hard as a parent. And for us to just know that these kids are going to leave us and move on to high school, I mean, it's a good thing. We've done good things for these kids, and I'm proud of all of them. I'm currently, today was day 1 of 3 days for the National School Board Association has an advocacy conference where we get to learn all about advocating with our legislators. And so today was day 1, tomorrow's day 2, and day 3 will be Thursday. So today has been a very busy day, as well as just keeping up with emails and phone calls and things that are coming in. I feel like I want to address the negativity that's been going on in our community lately. It really breaks my heart to see the negative things that are being said by everyone. It feels like we can't have a meeting or a discussion where somebody's not calling somebody names or saying something derogatory about somebody or spreading lies about them. And this is happening everywhere. This is not me calling any one person out, but I really want to see our community figure out a way to have a conversation, a courageous conversation where we might come in with different opinions, but that we're respectful of one another and that we can have that honest dialogue with one another and try to come to some common ground to do what's best for our students. Because I really believe that everybody that's coming here and watching our meetings and that's emailing the board and that's calling us and everything that's happening, we all want what's best for our students. We just have to figure out how to come together to find a way to do that that's not so divisive. So I really hope that we can figure out a way to have a conversation with each other that doesn't end in negative hurt feelings all the time, because we don't have to agree. At the end of the day, we don't all have to agree, but we need to be open to hearing what other people have to say. And we need to be open to hearing that maybe some information we have is not correct and that we need to make changes based on the information that we have received. I'm open to hearing from other people, and I know that all of our other board members mostly are open to hearing from other people, and I hope that we continue to do that. I'm proud of our district for opening up the door with our community chats and continuing to do that. And I think that we will see where all that information leads when we meet next month and we're able to make changes to the equity statement and we see the changes that are being made to the work that the district is doing, and that we really are trying to listen to feedback from everyone, and that it is not just a one-sided conversation, because that's not ever what I wanted when I joined this board. So, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Armstead?
So from a professional perspective, I have just ended the school year. So I'm much different than everybody else up here on this board. I've been lazy and sleeping and lounging and all that for the last few weeks. I did go and spend some time with students who were virtual 100% of the time, and absolutely broke down emotionally, just seeing the state of the students and how they needed that social interaction so much. But also seeing them just almost like begging from the inside out that next year they get to return back to normal. So it was good to see those students and interact with them, to put an actual face with a human being and them not think that I'm just a robot on the computer. I've also signed up to attend or registered for some educational conferences. One of them is on dyslexia. The reason I chose that is because I do not have experience with that. I am not an expert in that area. So over the summer, I plan to attend some of those virtual different classes and things so that I can be a better educator. On a personal level, I have been watching tons of basketball. I have not jumped on the bandwagon of the Phoenix Suns yet, but if they continue to do good, then I will. But I basically just been relaxing because I'm a teacher on summer break.
Thank you very much. All right, that wraps up our reports from governing board members, our reports from administrators. This is information only. They are in board docs if anyone would like to review them. Thank you to our administrators who are still producing reports, even though they want to be lazy on summer break too. You very much deserve it. Thank you for putting that together. I appreciate it. And I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I motion to adjourn.
I will second that. All in favor? Aye.